Alright, hey, hi, how are you? My name is Felton, welcome back to Magic the Gathering. Today we're going to be talking about a new deck that is now possible with the release of the Brothers War, Esper Fairy, aka Esper Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. This deck it's gross, alright? This deck is disgusting in every sense of the word. It all revolves around the idea of playing what was essentially the old Esper Legends deck with a couple of new additions. Mainly a Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, who is insane as a card. Let's talk about him really quick because he's the biggest change to the deck. He is a 3 and 2 blue for a legendary planeswalker. His abilities are 0, draw a card, -2, create a 2/2 blue spirit creature token with vigilance, and whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And -12, target opponent chooses a permanent they control and returns it to its owner's hand. Then they shuffle each non-land permanent they control into its owner's library. For those of you who know River's Rebuke, it's a River's Rebuke. They get to pick one card off their board, put it in their hand, everything else goes straight to their library. He also gains loyalty every time you draw a card. Heard of the little legendary Sphinx demon called Rafine, who allows you to draw cards by conniving? It doesn't say, like, first time you draw a card each turn. It doesn't say, you know, like, draw a card through a spell effect. It says draw a card. That works with Rafine. That works with Wedding Announcement. That works with Blitzing Tenacious Underdog. It's gross. It's really gross. He gets out of control really fast. I'm probably going to put in a video later, or not a video, sorry, one of the matches that I'm going to include in this video is going to be from my stream where I got to pop off with Teferi and nearly ultimate him in a game. It was disgusting. Let's talk about the other cards being included and bring a little attention to the new important ones that I think are super great, like Go for the Throat. Go for the Throat is an amazing addition from Brothers War. I highly recommend you craft 4 copies of this if you're going to play any type of black deck at all, because it's Infernal Grasp, but without having to pay the life. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool new artifact creatures in Brothers War. You're probably going to see them floating around Standard and such. And there's a handful of decks in like Explorer/Pioneer that heavily use artifacts, so Go for the Throat's bad into them. But if you're playing best of 3, just make sure you slot Infernal Grasps into the sideboard. If you're worried about it, maybe do 2 Go for the Throat, 2 Infernal Grasps. However, lots of removal is really good right now. And since some of the most powerful decks are all about playing Shieldred, highly recommend just running 4 copies of Go for the Throat because it blasts her off the board super fast. A lot of the rest of this deck, very similar to the old Esper Legends deck that dominated at the last Magic Worlds. Besides that one Grixis deck that won, but this is the Esper Legends deck essentially with a little extra. So we have some Make Disappears, we have some Tenacious Underdogs because he's just a great card. Denic Pious Apprentice is still a really good addition to the deck. A 2-cost lifelinker is amazing, especially one that keeps your opponent out of their graveyard. Evangel of Synthesis, I think, is an amazing new 2-drop in a deck that runs like 25, 26 lands typically. A card that'll let you cycle through those cards whenever you play it. Really, really useful, especially on turn 2. Great addition. And if you draw cards, which you typically want to, he starts getting +1/+0 in Menace, which is just incredibly, incredibly useful. Plus, it's an uncommon, so it's a pretty easy include. We have 1 copy of Lauren of the Third Path as just kind of like some extra enchantment removal, artifact removal. You can tap so that both people draw cards. That is okay. Hopefully you're doing that in a situation where it benefits you more than your opponent, but be careful. You can sometimes get your opponent to draw into, say, a Titan of Industry or something like that, and all of a sudden, bam, your board state is kind of worthless, but still a really great card to include. The card draw always good, even if it helps your opponent. 3 Wedding Announcements. You can run 4 if you so choose. I run 3, personally, because I wanted to include more Go for the Throats. If I wanted to include more Wedding Announcements, I would cut a Go for the Throat. 3, it makes a bunch of 1/1s. It makes your entire board state get +1/+1, which is not encounters, which can be useful in certain matchups. And on top of that, if you attack with 2 creatures in a turn... I apologize. If you attack with 2 creatures in a turn, you draw a card. Teferi likes card draw. Rafine is Rafine. You connive based on the attacking creatures you have. It's really, really powerful effect. Rafine typically goes over the top, while whatever you have on the ground, say a Denic, will be growing in massive proportions. Voidrend, amazing inclusion. Because you're running Esper already, you may as well include 2 copies of Voidrend. This card is insane. It goes past ward costs. For those of you who don't know how that works on Arena, you basically say you're going to target something, the ward cost will pop up, and then you decline to pay the ward cost. because Ward's wording is that it will counter target spell. Void Rend cannot be countered. Don't get baited into paying ward costs when you're using Void Rend. Don't do it. 3 copies of Wandering Emperor because she's just that powerful of a planeswalker. You could potentially run 4. I run 3 because I like keeping the deck very, very 60 card. 4 Shieldreds. Amazing synergy with Teferi and Rafine. It existed inside the old Esper Legends deck. It's been made even worse now. You swing in with Rafine, draw a bunch of cards, plus use Teferi's 0 to give him a +1 counter. All of a sudden, you've gained 12 life in a turn. It's gross. 1 copy of Urtai Resurrected. I think he's fine. I think he's a nice additional piece of removal / counter spell. I don't know if I'd run more than 1 copy of him anymore because you need to include so much in this deck. Mana base. It's kind of a nightmare. I recommend one of each of the legendary channel links from Kamigawa because they're amazing. Aganja goes past spells because it's a channel. So does Adawara. Takanuma is good for getting back cards from your graveyard. It can be pretty useful. Other than that, the mana base is very expensive. Lots of Plaza of Heroes and Rafine's Towers. I got a bunch of the new Pain lands from the new set, so I'm using a lot of them. And then, like Shattered Sanctum, Shipwreck Marsh, include as many of those as you so wish. I include a lot of Deserted Beach, but that's because I have the most amount of them in my playset, so I feel like I may as well. A bunch of Caves of Holios. I think that's how you say that. Hoilos? I always mess this up, I apologize. And then Adakar Wastes. Highly recommend it 3 copies of Rafine's Tower and Plaza of Heroes, if not 4 copies of each. Very, very, very good lands. Highly recommend. That's the deck list, though. I'm going to include a little bit of gameplay after this as something new. Hope you enjoy that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff if you want to support the channel. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Alright, future me, you better be editing this correctly. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? We got 3 lands, Wedding Announcement, Rafine, Void Rend, Shieldred. I feel like being on the draw, this is a little slow. But I feel like this is keepable. Because my 3-drop is so powerful. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm playing into mono red aggro, so I might get my butt beat. If I can hold on long enough to be able to play Wedding Announcement, They're Rakdos, and they didn't play a creature. That's rough for them. 'Cause I have a creature now. What do I want to cycle away? They might be killing it with a lightning strike. No, go for the throat. That's a really weird choice. Because I still get my... Okay, Rafine. You might think I want to get rid of an extra Shieldred because I can't even play her. But I think that's a little silly. I think Rafine is the easier to get rid of card here because people will immediately slam removal on Shieldred. Here I have 2 options, right? I can play a Void Rend, or I can get out Wedding Announcement to start building a board state. I think Wedding Announcement is the right choice here. They missed land drops. Wedding Announcement gets me chump blockers. I can stop hemorrhaging life, playing into what is probably an aggressive Rakdos plan. And I guess my opponent just thought that the Wedding Announcement was too much. I'm going to include this in the video because that was just weird. Alright, future me. Maybe this game will be good. This is like my 3rd game attempted, and I got Salty Roped out of 1, and I got, like, instant conceded to in another. Maybe this will be an actual game of Magic. 3 solid mana. I think this is keepable, but it's very dangerous to keep. It's also very painful when I play Rafine out. Alright, Bant colors. Could be 5-color good stuff. That could just be the... I've seen a Jenny Faye Gala Greeters deck coming back around. If that's the case... this is probably going to be an okay matchup for me. I played against that the other night on stream, and I kind of destroyed it. That video, that VOD might be included in here. We'll see. So far, it looks like it's just kind of that mono-white deck, but it's also Bant colors. And I say it's also Bant colors because, like, they have Bant colors in their stuff. I think we just play Shieldred to get them to have a target. Spicy take. I should get rid of the Teferi. Yeah, I was gonna say, because getting the Shieldred targeted means I can keep using Rafine as, I can keep using Rafine as card draw. Shieldred is a much bigger threat on board because she's constantly, like, hurting my... That is not what I expected to see go to the graveyard. What kind of Bant pile are they playing? Bant being green, white, blue, by the way. Maybe I'll draw an untapped land source here. If I draw an untapped land source, it's an easy play to fairy turn. I think because I didn't, it's that, and then I hold up Urtai. Don't need an extra Rafine. I already threw away a Teferi, but once again, I don't think I need him that bad. I think I'm already kind of going off. My opponent has 6 life because I let the trigger go through. Alright, well, this is their entire turn, and this is probably game. Because that is, once again, their entire turn, and now they're actually down at 4 life. They do get an Iganjo blocker. However, I don't exactly know... Are they playing a Reanimator deck? Or maybe they're just like, oh, that card's too expensive. I think this is just kind of game, though. Because I have a flyer in Rafine. I didn't even get to play Teferi. Oh, well. But yeah, this is what happens if you get to start going off and get your cards out and your opponent doesn't remove them. And you did see the use case scenario for Urtai in the deck. Like, sure, another Make Disappear could have done the same thing as Urtai, but Urtai has a solid synergy with Shieldred where she forces my opponent to draw cards, or he forces my opponents to draw cards and triggering. Shieldred the Apocalypse's ability, which is really good. I don't know what my opponent was doing, but whatever it was much, much, much too slow to deal with the aggro that is the Esper pile right now. And you might be like, Feld, you didn't even get Rafine on board until turn 3. Yeah, but they didn't deal with Shieldred on turn 4. And not dealing with Shieldred on turn 4, just, it's lots of problems. They tried with Wandering Emperor, but that was just much too late. Much, much, much too late. We've had a lot of people scoop really fast to me getting Shieldred on board. Which has been very strange. I guess Shieldred is that powerful, but it's maybe they just didn't have removal for Shieldred. Alright, 4 lands. 4 lands, but I'm on the draw, but it's really good. This is a dangerous, dangerous keep, and it just got more dangerous with Teferi being my first draw. But there's potential for this working out. It looks like they're probably playing mono white weenies. I don't know why they would play that on their turn and not on my turn, but that's fine. We have 2 options now. We can play Wedding Announcement to get chump blockers and get Wedding Announcement rolling, or we can play Rafine to get Rafine rolling. I think Wedding Announcement is the better play here, especially when they missed a land drop. They could have like a Disenchantment or something. No, they just have a Resolute Reinforcements again. See, I don't know why they didn't do that the first time. It's not like playing it on their turn made it go any better for them. And on my next turn, I have 2 options. I have 1 option now. We absolutely play Shieldred for the life gain and life drain. They're missing land drops, and they're probably trying to just get creatures out on board. There's probably an Adeline coming. Never mind, they actually had a Valorous stance. It does take their whole turn, though, which I think is pretty valuable to me. This is like a weird one, but I want the life back.
I'm not overconfident.
I want the life back more than I care about doing that as an ambush. And my 2/2 comes in untapped, or my 1/1 comes in as a 2/2 untapped with Wedding Festivities. That's kind of rough for me, but we trade out for the 2/2 because we don't want them to grow too heavily.
See you later.
We have two choices here. I think the right choice is Teferi, which might be a surprising one. But it's because I have another one in the back pocket. And he makes a 3-3 because of Wedding Announcement. This might actually be a good game to show off, like, a deck that can go toe-to-toe with what I'm bringing. So that can be targeting itself, so that can become a 3-3 and a big threat, but Teferi will be fine in the background. Full Initiate isn't a big worry for me. This thing will continue to grow. I don't believe they can kill. Exile target card. They're probably going to target Shieldred, but I literally don't care. So they're probably going to swing this guy, yeah. Which is a very silly decision, IMO, because that's not a good trade for them.
Oh, you caught me this time.
So, spicy choice, but it gives me an extra loyalty, which means I can do that. And then we have two choices here. We have two choices. We either go wide with Rafine, or we go wide with Teferi, and I think going wide with Rafine's the better choice, because this leaves Teferi as a target, and I really doubt that they're going to want me to have Teferi for much longer. I bet they're going to do everything they can to get rid of him, but I have another Teferi in hand, which is a pretty good thing for me. They're reading all my cards, which is fair. Evangel is new. Teferi is new. Don't know why they're reading Rafine. She's existed since New Capenna, but, you know, you do you, kiddo. That was kind of... what's the word? Condescending? God, that sounded even more condescending. That wasn't the point. I literally just couldn't remember the word condescending. But yeah, Teferi's here to be a distraction. They probably want to swing in and kill Teferi ASAP, but they're like, oh, well, their board state's really good, so if they swing in and kill him, I can just not block, play a new Teferi, swing 3 on the rebound. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that to be included in the mono white weenies deck. Here's the kicker. I don't have to block any of this. I wonder if that's what they're thinking. I mean, I literally am not blocking, though, so okay.
I'm sure I'll laugh about this later.
Alright, so I could play out Shieldred, but I think the better play is to just play out another Teferi here.
Doesn't mean we have to be overly serious. Nobody knows the past better than me.
And once again, I think Teferi in this instance is just being a target. Did I get rid of multiple Teferis this game, or was that a game that I think that was a game that I didn't... that I'm not going to include in the video. I lost, or they lost really fast. I think they got stuck on 3 lands and then just, like, conceded. Hindsight moment, probably should have just gone ahead and jump blocked last turn, after they played the Valorous stance. They're probably going to keep swinging for Teferi, though. I don't know why they would do that. I guess they just desperately want Teferi to die, but... they have 1 open mana. I'm very confused as to why they're doing this. I have a really, really strong board state. I don't quite get why they're doing it like this. I mean, I just, like... can't I block that? I can't, no. But then I can double block that. I don't know why they're throwing away their creatures. It's a very weird decision.
The mind is willing, but the body, it hurts.
Okay, well. Math is hard, but I can play both. So, this is right when this deck starts to pop off really hard. This is now a 5/5 Menace. This is a 7/7 Vigilance. And I still have Rafine and Shieldred on board. And they lose because of Shieldred. You see what I mean when I say Teferi is a distraction? People are going to do that to your Teferi, like, every single time. They're going to do whatever they can. spend all their mana from their Sun Gold Sentinel, send 4 creatures out at a turn to make sure that that Teferi doesn't get to stay on board. If you're playing Esper Legends and Teferi is just like an addition to it, the Esper Legends deck is insane, and the spirit tokens he creates, twice as much value as him. Especially because it basically gives you double value on your connives. Because this guy was the one I was conniving, which means he was growing with the +1 counters. The spirit token just gains the +1 counters from the draw. I don't even need to connive. But if I connive onto it, it gets double value, so pretty wild stuff. Alright, still yelling at future me to hopefully edit this correctly. I'm trying, this is different for me. I usually don't include gameplay. I usually just talk about the decks that I'm making. So I don't really know how to do this whole gameplay thing very well. I'm much more used to streaming. I cannot keep this in good faith because I only 2-drop as a go for the throat, and I cannot guarantee the 3 drops, so I have to mulligan. This is much better because I actually have playable 2-drops, and I could potentially draw into 3 drops or something. Looks like it's gonna be a matchup into mono black. Potentially could be Rakdos. Now it's mono black. Oh, right, I can't go for the throat that. That's right. It's an artifact. See, this is one of those few times when go for the throat falls short, is when people play very strange old artifact creatures from Kamigawa, or potentially the new artifact creatures from Bro. It's not like that likely, but it is possible. Alright, well, they played out all of their mana, so I can play Shieldred in good faith. They probably have removal. I can't imagine they don't play Go for the Throat. But that takes up their entire turn, which is a very good use of my turn, essentially. I'll probably kill off one of these Blades of the Oni, because it's really worth it to spare my life total. They don't actually do anything, so we get to play out another wedding announcement. Play 2 tokens, or get 2 more tokens. Sorry, I don't play the tokens, I get 2 more tokens, and now all of a sudden their Blade of the Onis are looking a lot worse, because I have 4 tokens on board. 3 tokens on board. They are missing, 2 tokens on board. Man, that was rude. Wow, alright game. I'm going to sack both the... I think the Evangel of Synthesis is better to keep here. I don't think I need the 2 go for the throats. And I want the card draw here. And I want to put on the pressure. Fortunately for me, it looks like they're kind of floundering for lands. Unfortunately for me... Yeah, let's just kill it off. I don't want them to get any type of advantage like that. Weird choices. Alright, well, let's just play out Shelly. Swing with both. Drop the underdog, because, you know, why not? Keep swinging, keep gaining life. I'll gain more life on instep here. This is probably looking like a GG. They did get their 3rd land. They have potential to play something out. I don't think they can kill me with 6 damage, and I have 16 life. However, they could very well prove me wrong. They could play something and go absolutely ham. Blade of the Oni is an interesting card, but I don't know if it's really worth the squeeze. I do think my opponent got kind of mana screwed. They played a really solid game plan, and they kept a pretty decent hand, I'd say. Clawing Torment, Disfigure, Cut Down, Go for the Throat is pretty good in the meta when you need to target, remove a lot of stuff. But they did miss their land drops. They didn't have any way of trying to go for more land drops, and Blade of the Oni being a 2-drop, as opposed to maybe keeping a hand with, like, an evolved Sleeper who will eventually evolve and let you draw cards, gain Death Touch to be a bigger threat, stuff like that. I don't know if they... like, their deck was the best for this matchup, unfortunately for them. This right here isn't even showing off Teferi being powerful. This is just showing off this deck being essentially the old Esper Legends deck and crushing because of that. Teferi doesn't really, like, get involved in this conversation. Evangel of Synthesis kind of does, because I believe they removed my first one. I believe they did. I believe they went after my first... No, they didn't, because I just played Shieldred and they killed it, didn't they? I've been playing a lot of games lately, viewers, I'm sorry. They might be salty roping me at this point. If that's the case, I might just cut and then come back in at the end and be like, hey, we won. I don't think that they were playing badly by any stretch of the imagination. I think they had a good game plan. I think they just kept a hand with too much removal and not enough creatures and lands. And I want you to keep in mind, this isn't me judging them. This isn't me, like, judging their gameplay choices. This is me, like, evaluating what happened to try and improve myself as a player, because I'm still quite new to Magic. We're just gonna go in for the lethal here. It might be kind of rude, but I'm just gonna give myself the best chance possible to go ahead and get my lethal off. Triple go for Rafine. Unfortunately, only got one card out of that. Do gain my 6 life off of Shieldred. That combo is still insane, and they can't block both, and they have a 4/7 in the air, so even if they remove one, they're probably dead. Because I'm also back up to 25 life. I believe they either like closed their app or they're salty roping. For those of you not knowing, salty roping is just letting your turn timers run out because you're mad that someone did something, or mad you didn't hit all your land drops, or... This could not be a salty rope. I don't want to immediately assume that about my opponents. This could just be the game crashed. There was a new patch the other day, and because of that, sometimes the game has some instability. I don't want to judge too harshly. I've had that happen before too, where like my game crashes and I'm not able to play. I don't believe that's what happened, but you never know. I don't want to judge too harshly. Another victory? Another victory in the books, and we're up to Diamond 3. That's pretty nice. This hand's great. That was just like super lucky for them that they drew that last card though. If they hadn't drawn the guy that lets them tap creatures to draw cards, they would have just straight up lost, I think. Oh my, shut the fuck up. Are you muted? Good. Okay, I don't care about that. I will play this, and I will play this. Friendly match after this? Sure. I'm just dicking around trying out this deck, seeing what works and what doesn't. I would not mind. Gala Greeters, I'm killing that shit. No value for you. We swing with Dennick because it's worth. We can't play Teferi next turn, unfortunately. We can't play Rafine, though. Or we can just play Shieldred, which is much scarier. And I doubt they have a way to deal with it. Yeah, they don't. They absolutely do not have a way to deal with a Shieldred. They're trying to play the Gaia deck. That's cool. We get to do it, chat! We get to play Teferi!
Don't feel bad when you lose.
This is so awesome! We got to play him! Poggers! Oh, they're just playing a Defile of Vigor deck. That's fucking boring, dude. Yeah, that's just fucking boring, dude. They're going to swing. Which is really fucking stupid, by the way. If they really wanted to kill him, you just send all 3. Happy moment? Barely. My opponent is playing a really boring deck.
There is much the past.
At least they're swinging? Yes. Oh, we got another Teferi. Never mind, I care a lot less now. I don't think they were ready for that. See, that's the only problem, is this thing is like fucking boring. This is like gotta be the most boring card in Standard for green, because it's literally just a, haha, I pay a tiny bit of life and I win because all of my creatures get 3+1/+1 counters per turn now. It's not very exciting or interesting. It's kind of a you play it, you win card. And I unfortunately just like didn't have any removal. Like I had one piece of removal. Really? You really? Are you sure you want to do that? Oh no. Oh no, 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 they don't know, chat. They don't know. They lack critical. The critical is that I have another Teferi in my hand.
Harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Faced with tragedy, even observe, much to consider.
Hey, you like triggers? You like triggers, chat? Because I now have an 11/11. Yeah, I didn't even get to play Shieldred. Teferi's 9 loyalty, and I have an 11/11 on board because I just got to swing with Rafine. I think they're realizing their mistake, chat. Yeah, this is why Teferi is a kill on sight card, by the way. The funny part is, I don't know if they can kill my Teferi. I guess if they swing with everything, they kill it. But, like, at that point, I just win the game? So, speaking of win the game, I think I just win now.
There is much the past can teach us.
Triggers! You thought you were the beatdown, but it was me, Dio! Are they gonna triple block it? Do it, you coward. Don't be a bitch. Triple block it. Don't be a bitch. Triple block. Yeah, there you go. Alright, well, let's do this. So that's just out of the equation. So it lives with 1 toughness now, and they lose. Hey guys, I think Teferi might be a little bit strong of a card, but I don't know. I can ultimate him this turn. Alright, well, this is new and different, but hopefully you included the addition of gameplay this time. There's probably only going to be a couple of gameplay portions, but we'll find out. Either way, hope this video was helpful to you. Hope you realized how powerful this deck is, and hope you realized that Teferi can be bait as well as just be a powerful planeswalker. This deck is really strong. I think this deck is going to dominate the standard metagame, and it's going to be it's going to be as much of a percentage as Esper Legends was, if not more. It's a really, really, really good deck. But thanks for hanging out and watching. You're cool, and I appreciate you, and I hope to catch you in the next one.